This is the Chaosia video log for November 8th, 2011. This will basically just catch you up to speed for what's happened this past week. So first off, we've got Jello with his character Phantom X. His character was taken underground by a demon, and he was going to get eaten, but the demon decided against it. But the demon also made fun of him, and it really irritated him. So Phantom starts arguing with the demon, who's named Norwat, and Norwat just kind of ignores him, and eventually Jello get Phantom, whatever. I'll probably just call him Jello usually. Jello gets really angry, and then Norwat starts noticing things about him and says he's similar to somebody Norwat knew in his past. So Norwat agrees to help Jello fulfill his dream of basically taking over the worlds that way. Like with him as the ruler, through fear and power, people won't be able to have any violence. Um, yeah, kind of messed up there, but whatever. And one of the first things that he does is he Norwat has Jello make a contract with another demon, a much lesser demon, by carving off some of his chest, like chest flesh, like just cuts off a chunk. There you go, demon. Um, the scar by placing his blood onto the scar, he can summon the demon that he named Hitomi. And so Norwat teaches um Jello the basics of darkness and fire, but they're kind of like the more evil sides. Like it's more about hate and anger rather than just like I don't know other stuff. Anyway, and then he kind of makes a little test for them where they have to try to catch up to him after he leaves. Up next is Kami. Kami and Psyche have been fighting Nyushiro. Nyushiro knocks out Psyche and fights Kami one on one. And Kami eventually unlocks his soul weapon, Storm Chains, and Yushu just stops the fight right there because he was and explains that he was only fighting for them to get their soul weapons. So then they wait for Psyche to wake up. Psyche fights. He gets his soul weapons. Um, I forget their names. They are arm blades named Raging Fangs. So Psyche gets his soul weapons. They're arm blades called Raging Fangs. And Kami feels this sort of pricking sensation in the back of his mind, and he kind of senses there's something more going on. So he goes to Jewel and asks Jewel about if there's any sort of living consciousness of a magic. Ironically, beasts. Jewel, host of Voltage. So Joel goes into a trance and lets Voltage take over. Voltage talks with Kami, who eventually decides that it must be Metal, the beast of Metal, poking around his mind. So he goes to the Coron Mountains to try to sort that all out. Thunder. Thunder, after getting his eye frozen, kind of decides to take a break from guild hunting. He does a little training to get used to having only one eye to use. And then he eventually decides that he wants to go back to his little ruined home that he had lived in as a child, which is now kind of like as time wore on, it kind of just got eaten by the forest around it. So really, it's just like the foundation is all that's left of the thing. But he goes back there anyway, and he finds this chest buried in the ground. And he digs it up and finds that it's full of letters, and it also has a sort of string that went underground. So he kind of digs down deeper and ends up finding a sort of underground chamber that had a portal in it. So he goes through the portal, and that's pretty much what he's done. Nintendo, he learns the basics of Absolute Zero from Arcane, but he's not too good at it, so he has to use a shard of Absolute Zero, kind of like a power channeler, to be able to do Absolute Zero. He meets Zach, the person who trained with Arcane when they both first really discovered Absolute Zero. Well, not discovered, but kind of learned how to harness its power. And so after hanging out with Zach for a little bit, he goes to the Never Dimension again for the first time in a while and finds a cave where a villain from an uprising had been kept, then released by a monster, and that was just a whole different event story. But he goes down into the cave. Now it's just kind of like a cave, really nothing special. But he finds an egg, so he kind of picks it up, and he's going to keep it when he kind of notices that it has hatched. And while the thing that hatched from it is nowhere around, it's still hatched. So that's going to be kind of interesting to see. And Gale talked to Nova, and Nova agreed that so long as it can stay in the little lava lake, it'll stop the whole raining fire. It'll just kind of hang out there, but only Gale and like a few people are allowed to know that it's actually there, and it's gonna be kind of like